This is an accessory box that was made, supposed to have been a copy of the ones they had at the time. Do a lot of lubricating. There's a spot down in here on the chain. If you're sitting in the car, it's on the right side of the sprocket, way down on the shaft, and it takes grease. It takes grease out of the grease gun. Do a lot of, we've run it for over 30 years. And I had no problem, so we grease it pretty good. The grease is right down there beside the chain. You got to move the car to get it, and then you give it a couple squirts. That's good. That's all it takes. Now, this here thing has got, I put gear lube in it, heavy gear lube in it. Pull this up. I think it's for a veterinarian. And there's a grease fitting. There's a grease fitting between the flywheel and the reverse band. Right down in here, there's a, and there's no ball in that grease fitting, so you put the transmission grease in there and you give it about inch or inch and a half of this thing when you fill it. So there's one spot there, and there's another little tube that sticks up. There's a little tube that sticks up here, and I just put a couple drops of regular oil in that. It's tough to get at, but, and over here in the clutch, on the clutch side, there's a hole. It's a tapped hole, but I never put the plug in it because it takes too long to put it in and out. The oil will run out before you get any place. I use the same gear grease in that, put this in the hole, and give it a couple inches of grease. I'll show you how I do that. I just take this little jar I carry with me. Put some in there. Go up here, put it in that hole. That takes care of low gear. That takes care of that. Okay, what we have is very simple to drive. Back is reverse. One notch up is low gear, 2 notches up is high gear. That's high gear. You pull it back. To go into low gear, you go back to neutral and then back up will give you low gear. It does not go into low gear from high to low. You got to go clear back through to reverse. And then when you want to back up, you just push reverse. This is a brake band in the differential. I use it on steep hills. Now, this is a spark. You start it with the spark that way, and you advance it until when you're running down the road almost full advance, you just pull it back and forth a little bit to where it feels good. I mean, that's a stupid way to do it, but that's the way I do it. There's a little oil tank right here. I put 10W30 weight oil in this, and it usually you run 100 miles, it might use almost a half a tank. Now there's a little plastic tube there. I give it a little 1 squirt of oil. It oils the cam down in there. Rather than reaching clear down in there, I put it up here. And this, I fill that up to start with. The oil from here is pumped into this thing, and this dripper system lubricates 1, 2, 3, 4 spots. There's 4 spots on here to adjust. I never touch those. They seem to be working okay for years. But it pumps oil from this tank into this, and this just drips. One is over here, one is there, one is the center, and then one goes back to the cylinder. There's a glass dripper here back here. Normally this is all they have, is this dripper thing, and you can't get too many miles on that. You got to stop and fill it all the time. So that's why I put a little motorcycle injector pump down there run by a chain that puts oil into this. And what I do is put about half oil in there, because I got a hole drilled in the glass and it can't go much higher for the tube. And then the valve up here in the front turns it on and off. This is the valve. You don't want to forget to turn that on every time you start it. And then it will drip probably like 6 drops a minute, which is plenty. And then anything that looks like it needs oil that turns. Here's an oil cup here. Right here there's an oil cup. It's not Oldsmobile. That was added by George Green. Whoop. The cotton come out. And then there's 2 oil cups here. And then these 2 oil cups have been added. It's not Olds, but it lubricates the valves. And then here's the rocker arms. Right here there's a hole here. And then there's a hole on the inside, which I just smear oil around it. And then there's an oil hole on the top of this one. So anything that turns, give it oil. And then here's a roller down here on the bottom of the valve that pushes it up. And then there's a roller on this side, on the cam. And then there's a roller up here. Boy, that oil is sure running this morning. This is the water tank right here. Keep it about a couple inches from the top. Never have any problems. Originally, this had the gas tank, and the water tank was on the top of the gas tank. And over here was the muffler. With the muffler over here, it burnt the back board off of it. The exhaust coming up burned it. And it also burned the side of the the body. So these were made by someone and put in here. I have the original tanks in there. I don't know whether to sell them or keep them, but anyhow, they're still in there. They're reproduction. Okay, now, the carburetor. You have a, well, we can't see it. Right here is a carburetor adjustment. And usually in the morning when I go to start it, I'll open it up, about 4 o'clock, facing. Turn the oil on, it's on. This is the choke, you pull that out. And under, on the gas line, there's a shut-off valve for the gas. Can you see it where my hands is? Well, if you look under there, right here's I always shut the gas in the off when I'm done. Because it did, one time that I left the gas on, and it was, I think, New Year's Day, Dan come here and he smelled gas, and somehow or another it just started to leak, and there's a big puddle of raw gas on the Here's the compression release. It has this little thing here. Original is just this little pedal with the number, serial number on it. This was added probably by George Green, which was the top guy back in the early 60s. He repaired them all his life. He made his living in it. But he made this thing, and it holds that down, because you can't hold that down, give it a little gas, and do everything. So use that. A release of compression. You can't start it without releasing the compression. Ignition switch. Originally it had back, center, and forward. You used 3 batteries, let's see, a volt, 6 volts. There was in the battery case, they had these dry cells. They called the telephone batteries. Use one set of them one day, and the next day you use the other set. You didn't use the same ones all the time. But now we're using the wet cell motorcycle battery. So off in the middle, forward is on. Retard the spark, make sure it's in neutral. See what happens. What I do on greasing these are little oil cups that they use with a ball in it, and you put oil in it to ball for the bearing. You can't get any oil in them out too much. I take these out, and I have a fitting with the grease fitting. I put the grease fitting in there, give it a couple of shots at the beginning of the year, and it's good. Both sides in here. In behind here, there's a grease fitting to grease the gears inside. In this hole here, if you roll it over real carefully and watch it, there's a tube that comes out. And you put a couple drops of oil in that. You adjust the chain by these. There's nothing holds this differential in except the chain. You can step on that. I don't step on this one over here because it twists the frame and the outboard bearing on the crankshaft is there, and I don't like to twist it. And going back, that's the clutch and everything on this. On this lever. It's all one unit. There's low gear. Okay, here we go. We start out low gear. It's fast enough. We're in high gear. You hold this against your leg and then you can steady it. This is the brake. Use the brake for the left foot. The throttle down here. I run it for about 22 miles an hour. That's usually as fast as I run it. I think 1981 I got my first senior award on it, so it must be the right way to take care of it. Then we come back and put it into neutral between low and high. Now we got to go back through low. Now we're going to go into low. Very, very easy to drive. Come on, baby. And then when you're pulling hard like this, I retard the spark just a little bit so it don't pound as high. It's about halfway. And then leave up on the throttle so it don't. Now we're in low gear. It's running terrible. Must be the spark. Either with oil or the spark plug needs a little attention. Yeah, I got to make it very fast. Release the compression before you shut it off. The compression's down here. If you release that before you shut it off, then you can turn it easy. If you don't, then it's hard to turn it over to get it to.
Which one's the compression?
This one.
Oh, that's right.
Those two work together.
That's right.
And we put a drop of oil down in here. There's a little slot. think it'll run? I keep these retarding the spark. How many RPM are we playing?
Less than 60, I bet.
Thirteen, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34 for half a minute.
Oh, 30. Oh,
I can't get it. I got it slowed down as far as I could slow it down. I mean, let's try giving it, increasing the. A minute.
19 and a half RPM.
So that well, it only fires every other stroke. So that's, so that would be 28. Really.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it only fires every other.
29. Yeah.
Anyhow, it's pretty slow.
You never step on this side.
Right, because the outboard bearing is on the frame, and it kind of twists the frame a little bit, and just bends the crankshaft. Okay. Yeah, I'm very concerned. Take that oil can out because in the trailer it bounces and it'll upset and then the oil go all over the floor. You can see this system here where I talk about the outboard bearing on the frame. And when you take the engine out and put it back in, you got to make sure that's lined up free, that it's not pulling that crankshaft one way or another. Low gear, high gear, reverse. And if it won't move, then you tighten it down here, just like maybe a quarter of a turn at a time. That's, one of them's a brake, center one's a brake, reverse and low, and high gear is here. There's a little screw there, set screw. You unloosen the lock nut and turn it to the next flat on the shaft, and not too much at a time so that it'll lock in.